Hi, Fred. My name is Josh Shell, host of the Let's Start a Cult podcast, the podcast that will one day get a larger payout than Joe Rogan. We will start the negotiations at $400 million. Your move, Spotify. Now, with that delusion of grandeur out of the way, grandeur the right word?
Grandeur?
Whatever. It's time to introduce my guest this episode. As Valentine's Day is this week, it only feels appropriate to bring on my Valentine and recurring guest to the show. Sienna, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good.
Happy to be here in our basement.
Yeah. Yeah, our infamous basement, actually. It's become on Reddit, on Wiki, and the show. So are you okay with this being our Valentine's date?
I would not be okay with it if this was just the only thing for Valentine's Day. No.
Oh no.
Sorry.
I hate to break it to you.
I know that's not true, so.
I'm just still waiting on that $400 million.
True.
And
fair enough.
I'll take you out.
Wow.
To a nice dinner. But until then, we're going to be talking about a cult, as the show implies, usually. In today's episode of Let's Start a Cult, we will be talking about the story of Aum Shinrikyo. What began as a religious movement soon became a military force that waged biochemical warfare against the civilians of Japan. Despite its heinous crimes and death of its leader, Aum Shinrikyo remains active to this day, hidden under a new identity.
Oh, wow. I've never heard of this.
Really?
Unless I know the new identity. I don't know.
The new identity?
Yeah.
What is the new identity?
I have no idea.
What if it's QAnon?
Oh my gosh.
No, I already had enough trouble with the QAnon people. So
yeah. I want to stay out of that as well.
Yeah. So you haven't heard of this cult. Shout out to Lindsay from Ye Olde Crime. She recommends me a ton of cults. And this was one of them.
Who knew there were so many cults?
There's so many that I find out about every week. But yeah, so shout out to Lindsay for recommending this one. I have a list that I'm going through slowly of recommendations. But are you ready to learn about this terrorist organization?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm strapped in, ready to go.
Strapped in, ready to go. What a Valentine's Day. All right, so we're going to actually jump into the early years of the leader. This is going to be a bad pronunciation. Ashara Shoko. And I apologize to all of Japan for the pronunciations that you're going to hear today. So before he became the reverend founder of Aum Shinrikyo, Asahara Shoko was a partially sighted boy named Matsumoto
What does partially sighted mean?
Like he poor-sighted, like you.
Yeah.
But I think he was actually closer to being blind.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Right.
Know.
Okay, so he has some sight. Sure,
yeah,
sure.
He had sight issues. He was born on March 2nd, 1955 in Japan's Kumamoto Prefecture. His parents, who wove tatamiya mats for a living, were incredibly poor and struggled to provide for their 7 children. However, they managed to send him to a boarding school for the blind, perhaps hoping that it would be easier for him to be around people with the same disabilities. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they would have more kids.
What do you mean? That's like a huge problem in the world. There are so many factors going into that. Why families have more kids to help them, especially in underdeveloped countries, like developing countries, to help them. Well, the reason people had a lot of kids to start off with was like farmers and stuff, and then they can help them with the work. But now it's like in developed countries, you have less kids because you're sending your kids through school for education, so you're paying for them. But in other areas where they're not sending their kids because they can't afford it, they probably are still having a lot, and also birth control and education.
Yes.
In areas where they're not getting education, then they're not. Yeah, like birth control isn't a thing, medical, whatever. So
okay. As soon as I said it, I knew I was wrong. Okay. But then this is why I bring you on. Nice. You know, the expert.
Oh yeah, for sure.
World issues. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. But it is nice that they managed to send him to a school.
Yeah.
However, at school, Matsumoto was known as a bully who often dominated and scammed his classmates.
I kind of love it, but...
Yeah. After graduating in 1975, he tried to enter a medical school in Tokyo, but his application was unfortunately denied.
That's too bad.
Hitler all over again. Yeah. He decided to study acupuncture and pharmacology instead, which led him to opening his own pharmacy practice in the city of Chiba, where he sold Chinese medicines. In 1982, shortly after opening the pharmacy, Matsumoto was forced to file for bankruptcy, though, after he was arrested and convicted of selling fake medicines. With nowhere else to go, he decided to travel across the Himalayas, hoping that this would help him find enlightenment.
Definitely. That makes sense.
Spiritual journey.
For sure. You get caught committing a crime, you got to go on a spiritual journey.
Yeah, exactly. Moses went up to talk to God.
To get the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, he went up a hill, right? A mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
No. Wow, you're such an expert on the Bible. Who knew?
Thanks. Upon descending from the mountains, Matsumoto dedicated himself to Aum Shu, a Japanese sect that brought together 3 Buddhist traditions: Mahayana, Theravada, oh my God, Vajrayanaism. We're going to assume those are all pronounced perfectly.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't know enough about any of that, so.
Well, it's just 3 different Buddhist sects. He established himself as a religious guru, and to promote this new image, handed out photos of himself levitating, which he claimed proved that he had already achieved enlightenment.
So he's actually like trying to prove that he was actually levitating?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was just like a thing.
Like a branding
Yeah,
thing.
Exactly. You could do that.
I guess. I mean, it's technically both, but I think he's trying to
show people that
his brand is trying to prove that he has achieved enlightenment. So
right.
Matsumoto also hosted meditation and yoga sessions, which he held at his 1-bedroom apartment in Tokyo's Shibuya district. These proved to be incredibly popular, and before long, he had gained a small following.
So they just came over and did yoga in like one room. I mean, I guess that's what yoga, you just need one room to do yoga. So
I mean, I'd be a little sketched out if I signed up for yoga and just showed up to a 30-year-old's apartment.
And wait, sorry, is it a 1-room apartment? Or was there one?
1 bedroom.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, imagine the kitchen's there, the bed.
It's just a bachelor apartment.
Yeah, a studio.
It could be easily. I have no idea.
I'm assuming it's a separate room, probably.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Just 20 people show up and he's like, all right, find some space. But yeah, so he is gaining a small following, which is good for him, bad for the world.
Yeah.
But in 1984, Matsumoto changed his name to Ashara Shoko and left Aum Shu to create his own religion. He called it Aum Shinrikyo, which in English means the supreme truth. So
yeah,
he's already naming his cult. So respect.
Nice.
According to Wired magazine, it, quote, blended mystical Buddhism with Hindu deities, added the physical rigor of yoga, and from Christianity drew on the concept of Armageddon, end quote.
So he just like took a bunch of different pieces that he liked from other religions and put it into...
Just blended it up into a bowl and said, here you go.
There you go. Interesting.
Which I mean is a lot of
religions especially
and New
Catholic
Age
religions. They kind of just take what they want from.
They're like, we just believe this part.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is a very common practice. So meanwhile, Matsumoto, or Ashara, as he was now called, declared that he was simultaneously Buddha, Jesus Christ, and the Hindu god Shiva.
Hey, why not? Well, some people believe that there's just one, and then they appear different. I don't know.
Well, I
if
guess
you're gonna go for it, go for it.
So most cults usually choose one.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm Jesus Christ. I'm the Buddha. This one, he's like,
I'm everything.
I'm all of them. Fight me.
Sure.
So he also began selling devices that he claimed would help people achieve enlightenment. These included electrocaps and astral teleporters.
What is that?
Well, I don't know what electrode caps are.
Yeah.
Astral teleporters sounds like, you could teleport to a different place in dimension or
maybe
astral plane.
Like maybe you meant it spiritually.
Yeah.
Not that he could.
Obviously, it's all fake.
Yeah.
But since Ashara already had a number of followers from his days in Aum Shu, it was easy for him to amass more. By 1987, he had already had about 1,300 devotees. Membership skyrocketed throughout the following years, rising dramatically in 1989 when the Metropolitan Government of Tokyo legalized Aum Shinrikyo, recognizing it as a religious organization.
Oh, wow. So is he making money off this, though?
Oh, guaranteed. Yeah.
Okay.
He's selling bullshit items. He's definitely making money.
Probably charging member and stuff.
Probably in yoga
classes, right? Yeah.
He's got to upgrade to bigger bedrooms.
True.
He's like, I have 2 bedrooms now. Double the people I can have. Asherar's followers mostly consisted of the youth, as in most cults usually. Yeah. So according to Wired magazine, quote, they came from college campuses, from dead-end jobs and fast-track careers. Thousands flocked to his embrace in seeking alms, promise of enlightenment, community, and most of all, supernatural power. They were nearly all young, wide-eyed kids in their early and mid-20s. Some dropped out of Japan's finest schools to join the cult, leaving behind families, friends, and bright futures. Others left the nation's top companies in steel, computers, insurance, and other fields. End quote. I like how insurance is added in there. Like, insurance is a scam. But so he's bringing in a lot of younger, easily impressionable people in hopes of a brighter future.
I mean,
fair
sounds
enough.
good.
Yeah, you know what?
Leave your high-stress jobs, and I can relate.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel you could relate to this one. Yeah. Don't go join them, please.
I'll try not to.
Don't spend my $400 million.
Yeah, that we're getting.
Cult.
I wish.
Among those who joined Aum Shinrikyo was Seiichi Endo, a 28-year-old student from Kyoto University, where he did his experiments in genetic engineering. There was also Masami Tsuchiya, a 24-year-old graduate student at the University of Sudoku, yes.
Yeah. They just do the puzzles all day.
Yeah, that's where it was invented.
Yeah.
Tsukuba? We'll go with Tsukuba.
Okay.
Whose research focused on the latest developments in the field of organic chemistry. And then there was 26-year-old Fumihiro Joyu? I'm so sorry. Who graduated from Waseda University with a degree in telecommunications and artificial intelligence. He joined Aum Shinrikyo after quitting his job at the National Space Development Agency of Japan.
Oh my goodness.
Which had hired him only 2 weeks earlier.
Oh. I mean, stress of starting a new job.
Yeah. I do like how the boomers nowadays are like, oh, kids these days just quit right away. And it's like, well, it's been happening for
a long time.
It depends. Yeah. If you don't like your job, don't.
Yeah, you have to do it for the rest of your life.
Don't join a cult.
Well, yes, obviously.
But, follow your passions. So when asked by officials, he told them that his role and the responsibilities it entailed were incompatible with his interest in yoga.
Okay. Can he do yoga?
Yeah, you can have a side
hobby
project. You could do yoga and still work.
Yeah.
Unless work was like, no yoga.
Yeah.
We don't believe in it. Anyway, that's weird. Another one of Ashara's early followers was 30-year-old Hidu Murray.
You're doing amazing.
Sorry. An astrophysicist who had studied at the prestigious Osaka University. After graduating, he was hired by Kobe Steel, a billion-dollar conglomerate that focused on metals, machinery, electronics, and biotechnology. So very smart people.
Yeah, I was about to say.
People that you would, well, I mean, the more I do this podcast, the more I realize that anyone can be tricked.
Yeah. But usually if you think of like uneducated people who like don't have connections.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, even the last one we did, the family, was like, it was like doctors and psychologists and stuff like that who have like doctorates. Yeah. So it just goes to show you, anyone can be convinced. So to recruit more members, Ashara and his followers used mediums that were popular with young people, such as videos and science fiction magazines. There, they published articles and placed ads claiming that they could help others gain supernatural powers like telepathy and levitation. I would like telepathy. I think that's my top superpower.
Being able to move things with your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could fly because you can move yourself.
Oh, I guess so. I guess I didn't think about that.
Or move something underneath you.
I guess.
And then you're flying.
True. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty good power.
Yeah.
Way better than levitation, because if you have telepathy, you can do levitation.
I guess. I didn't think about it that way, but you're right. I guess you could fly because you can move your body.
Yeah. Create force field kind of things.
How?
Telepathy?
Yeah. I thought that's just you moving things.
Well, I guess, yeah.
I don't know enough about telepathy. Don't look into it to try to gain it.
We're going to have an argument about that.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments. Can you put up force fields with telepathy?
Yeah.
I feel you could, because you can move the particles in the air to create a dense barrier.
Wow, I feel like you've thought about this a lot.
I have. This is
my gosh.
It goes superheroes and then cults for me.
Nice.
Ashara made sure whatever they published appealed to the youth's sense of alienation and isolation. Apocalyptic preaching also resonated with them simply because they had grown up immersed in video games and cartoons that were filled with graphic depictions of violence, murder, and even rape.
I mean, I feel like that's now too.
That's true, yeah. I mean, well, alienation and thing is like at an all-time high.
Yeah, well,
especially with the pandemic, but even social media.
Oh yeah.
pushing people to the like.
You're just on your phones. You're not connecting.
Not
with real
connecting.
people.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like we're doing right now.
Yeah. Exactly. Even like video games though and stuff now, like violence.
Yeah, it's violence and stuff like that. So
Weird that they specifically said rape. I'm now getting worried about what.
yeah, I'm now concerned about what Japan puts in their video games
Yeah.
like, and cartoons. I feel that's not a common trope.
Not for children's stuff.
No, but you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like even
I mean, though
Adult.
it is in shows like Game of Thrones.
Oh,
and,
yeah, you're
like,
right.
It's definitely depicted for
You're
sure.
right. You're right. Yeah, that's fair. So I guess good way to connect with your audience.
Nice.
Hito Murray, the young brilliant astrophysicist, had learned about Aum Shinrikyo through a book on yoga that the group had published. He soon became one of Ashara's most devoted followers, even going so far as to live permanently in a tiny cell that members use for meditation.
I hate that.
So do I. As someone with claustrophobia.
Yeah, same.
That would be the worst. Some experts have claimed that youth were attracted to Aum Shinrikyo because they felt stifled by Japan's culture of individualism in favor of creating a collectivistic society. Most of them spend hours of the day studying only to graduate into a corporate world that forced them to work around the clock. The country was also a bustling metropolis crammed with millions of people where silence and peace of mind were practically unheard of.
I mean, I've never been to Japan, so I can't. But like,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Well, I mean, even like I've never lived in a city, like in
Yeah.
the middle of a city.
Oh, I lived in Waterloo.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a
The
bustling.
big city.
Shout out to Waterloo. But I can kind of relate to, you study your entire youth
Yeah.
and then just get put into a corporate world where you're expected to work.
Oh, I know.
All the time,
That's literally, once again, this is what's been going through my head lately, where
Yeah.
literally the rest of our lives we're working. And if you don't love it, then you're going to hate your life. So
Push for that 4-day, 32-hour work week.
that's true, actually.
Same pay. We got to demand it.
Yeah, I'm down.
Rise up, Fred. We're taking back
Yeah.
the corporate world and living our lives.
Yeah. Although there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5, because like you see all those TikTok videos where it's like romanticizing not having 9 to 5, where they're like working whatever, but it's like 9 to 5s are pretty dope. Like you go in during the day and then you still have time to do things at night and you can enjoy your weekends.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Well, I'm not saying get rid of 9 to 5. I'm saying
No, I know.
4-day work week, 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So you get 3 days off.
Although I think when they were doing like the study or when they were implementing it in other countries, I think they were doing longer work days for 4 days. I think
See, I
it was
wouldn't
like
like that.
10-hour work days for 4 days.
I think we demand the same time.
But the issue is like, how do you make that happen across the board? Like, what are you doing with people who are working in the service industry? Just making sure their shifts are
just more people.
I guess so. But the issue then is they're going to have to pay them more. Or you pick that. I'm just thinking shift work. It's like some people are working like 7 shifts a week. If say they're waitressing and
Well,
they're
shift
PM.
work's different, right?
Like,
'Cause
say you're
that's you're not
waitressing.
full time usually, right?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. So it's like, is it this only for corporate jobs? Is this only for office jobs? Because that's not fair either. Like as a teacher, would I be working 5 days a week still?
No, because parents would be off an extra day.
That's true, I guess.
So kids would get off an extra day.
Yeah.
So any kids listening to this, shut this off
Yeah.
because we talk about not good things. But yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, I'm for it.
Parents and
obviously.
kids get an extra 3-day work week.
Yeah.
Obviously, service industry, you might have to work with that a bit.
Well, because that's the issue. It's like
Service industry's screwed over anyway. I don't want to get into that. Like they get paid less when they should
well,
just
that's
get
what
paid.
I mean. Like, because if someone's working 5 days a week, then it's like, oh no, we're actually going to cut back your hours to implement so that everybody's working 4 days, but then they don't pay them more
Oh yeah, well
for
that's
those
what
4 days. Then that's the problem.
that's what I'm saying. For salary workers,
It's
you just
it
keep the
makes
same
sense.
salary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's anybody who's not working salary that's going to be where it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't thought this entirely through, but
I think about it all the time. Just kidding. Not really.
but for corporate, it works pretty well.
Yeah.
Like for corporate businesses,
And like anything federal or like the government.
yeah, you'd have to figure something out for service industry, but
yeah. I
that's
mean, there's issues.
Yeah,
with
there's
how they get
tons of
paid anyway.
issues.
So
how did we get here? Oh yeah, the corporate work world. Yeah. So, they used the cult to escape that. And according to Wired magazine, quote, one can understand why then the Japanese say they prefer to cultivate inner space, the inside of their homes, the inside of their minds, and Aum offered the ultimate inner space, one that would take its followers on a direct line to outer space, end quote.
whoa.
You hate outer space.
I do hate it. I like outer space. I like it because it's cool, but I can't think about it too much or it freaks me out.
Well, these people just thought about it all the time.
No thanks.
Going on astral plane journeys.
Yeah.
For many Japanese young adults, Aum Shinrikyo represented an escape from their mindlessness and meaningless reality. Because of this, the religion's ranks swelled by the thousands each year. It's crazy.
Whoa.
This is going to be one of the biggest cults I talk about.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's the biggest ones before this? How many people?
That's a great question.
How many?
Probably
were Jim
QAnon.
Jones? Oh, well, yeah.
Or the Nazi Party. I don't know.
Okay, well, yeah.
The House of David was a whole town, though.
Oh, okay.
So depending on
yeah.
how many thousands was in that, but I'm
Okay.
pretty sure this one might be the bigger one. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. But in the late 1980s, Ashara began making plans for Aum Shinrikyo's international expansion. He turned his attention to New York City, where he listed it as a nonprofit tax and charitable religious organization, whose activities mainly consisted of translating and selling books. It didn't do so well in the United States, though garnering only less than 200 members.
So it's nonprofit. He's not making money. Or he's
Wow.
just saying it's nonprofit.
I don't know how many nonprofits
Yeah, or actually.
say they're nonprofit and then they actually make money. Because he's a religious organization, so he can get away with being not taxable. But to be honest, he probably didn't make money in the United States, but he probably
Okay.
does in
Yeah.
Japan, really, right? And Russia, because Ashara was more successful in Russia, where he amassed between 35,000 and 55,000 followers.
Oh my gosh.
The country became Aum Shinrikyo's largest arm outside of Japan, with at least 7 branches in Moscow alone.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, you got to think like Russia around this time, pretty
Cold
high
War?
stress, 80s.
Oh, okay.
So just after the Cold War, right?
Yeah.
But still, it's not a great time, you know? So local networks of Aum Shinrikyo were established in Australia, Germany, Indonesia, Taiwan, United Kingdom, Canada, Israel, Sri Lanka, Belarus, Ukraine, Ghana, and Nigeria.
Wow.
However, none of these were as popular or as large as the one in Russia. As the years passed, Ashara's preachings began to focus less on religion and more on the apocalyptic vision that he had claimed to receive. Sometime in the early 1990s, he predicted that Japan would go through a series of disasters, including a war against the United States. He also said only members of Aum Shinrikyo would survive this devastation, allowing them to replace the government and rule Japan.
Nice.
And once again, I don't know if they'd win that war.
No.
So, interestingly enough, these apocalyptic predictions were corroborated by members who had once been scientists. The astrophysicist Hito Murai even became the group's senior scientist, whose work involved figuring out how to use modern science to prompt Aum Shinrikyo's teaching. So they're using
What does that mean?
science
Yeah.
to prove his
Okay.
claims,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Under Murai's influence, Ashara ordered his followers to prepare for imminent war. They collected firearms and even developed their own biological weapons using supplies on the nerve gas sarin that they had managed to get their hands on. This was the same gas used by Nazi Germany in World War II.
Oh my God.
How did they get a hand?
How are they getting
How?
the firearms? Like they're pretty big religious group. So I mean, like people got to know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess they just let them get away. I have no
Okay.
idea, honestly. Like it.
I mean, I guess maybe gun laws and things weren't as developed.
I don't know what the laws in Japan
I
are.
have literally no idea. I'm
Russia,
assuming
I
it's
could
not
see,
open
are
carry.
lenient.
Yeah.
Russian, I could see being lenient.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about Japan actually. That's an interesting. I should have done
Yeah, look
research
it
on that. I should look it up right now.
Do it.
Gun laws
Japan.
in Japan. No one in Japan may purchase a handgun or rifle. Hunters and target shooters may possess shotguns and air guns under strict, I don't know what that word means, conditions, basically. So I don't know if this is before or after,
Yeah.
but
So that's stricter than Canada because
yes.
hunters can have rifles, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So very interesting. Wired magazine further reported, quote, other scientists worked on synthesizing mustard gas, VX, and other chemical killers. In cult biolabs equipped with the latest gear, technicians cultured agents that caused anthrax, Q fever, and botulism.
Botulism.
Botulism, thank you. At the same time, assembly lines were set up to produce 1,000 Russian machine guns and tons of TNT, end quote. They're just gearing
That's
up.
what?
They're
Like, what are
gearing
they
up for
expecting?
war.
I guess that if everyone were to die but them, it'd have to be a pretty intense war.
See, if it's everyone is going to die except for their group, why would they gear up for war? Like, you're not going to win that fight.
Well, that's true. I guess you're right. Like that, the way they made it sound is as like, oh, everyone's going to die except us. It'll be like a spiritual thing. Like they're going to be kept alive.
Oh,
But then then they wouldn't need weapons anyways.
True, they just die.
They just live, is what I'm saying. Like God or whatever they believe in would keep them alive. That's what it
say
sounded like.
Wingardium Leviosa.
And they'd float?
Lift them up above Japan while US and them fight, and then put them back down after the fight's done.
Yeah. Or maybe they think that they're going to be like superpower army soldiers like Captain America and like not die. I don't know.
I know no one else could take on the US Army, but we can with mustard gas. I don't know what they were considering. It doesn't make any sense to me, but who knows? For Ashara, transforming his religious movement into a militarized organization was a way for Aum Shinrikyo to increase its power, and so he focused his efforts on achieving this goal. He ordered his followers to build a stronghold near Mount Fuji, as well as factories where they could manufacture weapons. He also established a biological and chemical warfare program that was spearheaded by the virologist Saichi Endo, who had been one of his earliest followers.
I don't like, is this all going under the rug? Like, doesn't sound like it. I don't know.
It sounds like he holds a lot of power in Japan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like maybe they didn't do anything because they couldn't do anything.
Maybe. True.
Ashara also established a research program that he hoped would enable him to control the minds of others. This was led by Dr. Aiko Hayashi, 48-year-old cardiovascular surgeon who conducted experiments on his fellow devotees. So they're doing experiments on followers. It's crazy.
Like, do you know if any followers like dropped out at this point?
Oh, I'm sure some dropped out, but I'm sure he's gaining more than he's losing. You know what I mean? One of his victims was a 25-year-old
victim.
Well, you know,
like are they dead?
Well, he's doing experiments on their brain, so there's going to be some deaths.
Do you think they volunteer?
I'm not sure if it's forced volunteer or like you're going to get into heaven if you do this kind of volunteer. You know what I mean? So one of his victims was a 25-year-old Japanese army veteran who worked as Ashara's personal bodyguard. Dr. Hayashi allegedly put electrodes in the man's brain using a surgical insertion made on his skull. Later, the man would recall, quote, "When I came to, I was on the bed and didn't know what was going on. It seemed many days had passed, but I had no memory. When I touched my head, there were swollen spots. They were painful both inside and outside my head. It was a dull, aching pain." End quote. Your face.
I don't like that. I'm not a big
gore for person. Yeah. They're just putting stuff
I don't like
in their head for...
So this guy's alive, though? Or
he's alive, yeah. Who's to say how many died during these experiments? Because that is a very dangerous experiment that I could see going very wrong.
Oh, my God.
So... Besides these programs, Ashara also issued orders to recruit people from the Japanese military. This was fairly successful. Nearly 40 active duty members of the Self-Defense Force were soon following him, alongside 60 Army veterans and a first lieutenant in the country's 2nd Anti-Tank Helicopter Unit, who leaked classified data to the group.
Oh my God.
So they've got some pretty powerful...
Good for them, yeah.
Well, good for them? I don't know. I'm sure Japan wanted to keep that a secret.
Yeah.
Despite the scale of these efforts, Ashara believed that they weren't enough to consolidate his power. In February 1990, he established the Shinrikyo Party and, along with 24 of his followers, ran during an election for the House of Representatives. However, they failed to garner enough votes to secure seats within the government. Perhaps this failure was the reason why, in 1994, Ashara decided to reorganize into something that resembled a shadow government.
Great year.
Yeah, it was a great year. For no reason.
At all.
You'll never know my age. According to experts, its structure was a blend of medieval theocracy and post-war Japan, with a constitution and 24 different ministries.
Oh my gosh.
So they've built out an entire government.
Well, not legitimate, but like
illegitimate government. To lead these ministries, Ashara chose his most loyal followers. For instance, Hito Muraya became Minister of Science and Technologist, while the virologist Saichi Endo was appointed Minister of Health and Welfare.
Is he the one doing experiments? I can't remember. So many names.
Hito was the one, I think, doing experiments. No, sorry. Neither of those were doing the experiments. It was Hayashi.
Right.
He was doing experiments. So luckily he doesn't have that. Yeah. Well, who knows?
Ministry of Health. That's why I was like, well...
Everyone must get implants. Yeah. Meanwhile, an engineer named Kayohide Hayakawa became the Minister of Construction. Ironically enough, he had been in charge of creating weapons of mass destruction.
Oh my gosh. Ridiculous.
He's like, I know how to take it down. I know how to build it. Aum Shinrikyo became increasingly violent throughout the early 90s. In 1994, members filled a reporter's apartment with phyosine gas, which nearly killed her.
Oh.
That same year, they targeted the city of Matsumoto in Japan's Nagano prefecture, whose residents had opposed Ashara's proposal of establishing a factory in its southern region. This had led to a lawsuit, which at the time was still being reviewed by the court. On the evening of June 27, 1994, members of Aum Shinrikyo released a cloud of sarin gas from a converted refrigerator truck. They aimed to assassinate the 3 judges who were presiding over their lawsuit. However, they ended up killing 7 people that night.
Oh.
An 8th victim, a woman named Sumiko Kono, lay in coma for more than a decade before passing away in 2008.
How is the government not? Like, they created a shadow government. You think the Japanese government would be like, we got to do something about these people.
Yeah, honestly, kind of on their bad. But you know what? As I think about it, the amount of, United States and Canadian cults that have been very clearly a terrorist organization and the governments just kind of overlook it is ridiculous. I mean, QAnon just gets to do whatever the fuck they want now.
It's true. They're turning a blind eye.
Like, what can you really do to a cult of belief? How do you stop that?
I guess you have to wait until
you can demilitarize them.
Well, that's,
But they're still going to believe, and that might even force them to... Yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky thing, and I'm not the one to figure it out.
Come on.
That's up to the professionals. So as disturbing as these incidents were, none of these came close to the Tokyo subway attack, which showed just how far Aum Shinrikyo was willing to go. So, do you know who will not put you in a coma?
Is this an ad break?
This is an ad break. Subtle, I know.
Okay, let's go again.
So do you know who won't attack your subways?
The Subway franchise? You should have do Subway ad.
I don't want to do a Subway ad. Anyone associated with Jared is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so not Subway, but maybe
I think
Subway.
that cookie's still in my bag.
The Subway cookie?
Yeah. I gotta throw that out.
But yeah, so the products and services that support this show, they won't put you in a coma, or what else did I say? Oh, attack your subways. They won't attack your subways. All right, and we are back. I hope you purchased a product and or service.
Yeah, in that ad break. Just went right to the Chrome, searched it.
I hope it wasn't Subway.
Hey.
So it's time to get into the Tokyo subway attack. Not Subway the franchise, but Subway as in the train.
Yeah, like Metro.
Yeah, exactly. On March 20th, 1995, I almost said 25. We went back in time. Yeah. Those teleporters worked.
Oh my gosh.
With the police closing in on him due to his previous crimes, Ashara ordered 5 of his followers to release the nerve gas sarin
I don't know.
into Tokyo's subway system. They carried bags filled with highly toxic substances, which they then punctured before leaving behind on the train. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, quote, as the liquid in the bag started to vaporize, the fumes began affecting the passengers. The trains continued on towards the center of the city, with sickened passengers leaving the cars at each station. The fumes were spread on at each stop.
Were they letting other passengers on it?
Well, I don't know if the train conductor necessarily knew, right?
Every single one of them should have got off at the next station and been like, don't get on.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they might, who knows?
Okay, anyways.
I don't know how it was working. People are just getting back on. They're like, I got places to go, Corporate Japan, keeping me down. So the train continued on towards the city center with sickened passengers leaving the cars at each station. The fumes were spread at each stop, either by emanating from the tainted cars themselves or through contact with liquid contaminating people's clothing and shoes. Many of the individuals who were overcome by the exposure to the sarin during the attacks were those who came into contact with the agent while trying to assist those who had already been stricken. End quote.
Oh, no.
In the end, the attack left 13 people dead and thousands of others severely injured.
Oh, my gosh.
Among the victims were 2 subway employees who had died while trying to remove the sarin-filled bags at the... Sarin-filled bags at the at the station.
Okay.
Kasugami...
Station? Okay. I mean, wow. They're heroes trying to remove that.
It's sad that they
oh
died.
Gosh,
but 2 days after the attack, the police conducted a massive raid on Aum Shinrikyo's offices in Tokyo. Its laboratory headquarters at the city of Kamishu.
Oh my gosh.
It's so long. Kamikushiko Shiki in Yamanshi Prefecture was also raided, where they seized canisters filled with toxic chemicals that had been used to create the sarin gas. While Ashar initially denied his group's involvement in the attack, the evidence that the police found during the raids were more than enough to arrest him and hundreds of his followers.
See, that's a problem with the justice system, though. Like, they had all that stuff. It was clearly they're a terrorist organization, and it took an actual attack for them to
do something. Yeah. The justice system is usually reactive, not proactive.
Yeah, we had this conversation.
We've experienced in our lifetime. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, you definitely needs an overhaul for sure. If any police are listening, I'm not saying like, lose your job. No. I think that's part of the movement towards defund the police is to work on more proactive.
And it's not the police officers themselves, it's the system, right?
Yeah. So. If you invest in communities and lower income places, maybe there'll be less crime.
And you have social workers and mental health.
Social workers, yeah. Instead of killing everyone you meet.
Yeah. Or
arresting them or allowing them to kill someone,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I don't know. I can't change the system. Yeah. We'll start with the 4-day work week, and I'm sure crimes will go down.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
So in October of that year, the Japanese government stripped Aum Shinrikyo of its status as a religious organization. However, this wasn't enough to dissolve the group. Aum Shinrikyo remains active to this day, operating under the name Aleph.
A-L-E-F?
You're close. A-L-E-P-H.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So in conclusion, in 2004, after an 8-year trial, Ashara and 13 of his followers were sentenced to death.
8-year trial?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, there's a lot.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a big case, and I'm sure there was lots of arguing back and forth. They're in jail at this point. They're not just out on the street. So Ashara and 13 of his followers were sentenced to death after being convicted of charges related to the Tokyo subway attack. He attempted to file an appeal in 2006, but this was denied. On the morning of July 6, 2018, Japan's Ministry of Justice confirmed that 63-year-old Shoko Ashara had just been executed. The story of Aum Shinrikyo is disturbingly fascinating simply because no other cult has managed to carry out terrorist attacks using biochemical weapons that they themselves had developed. As Wired magazine put it, quote, "A college education, some basic lab equipment, recipes downloaded from the internet. For the first time, ordinary people can create extraordinary weapons. Technology and training have simply become too widespread, too decentralized to stop a coming of era do-it-yourself machines for mass murder." End quote. And this is unfortunately the legacy of Aum Shinrikyo.
Not great.
No, not not great. And it is a dark, because that is something people worry about, right? Like, you can just get anything you want from the internet.
Yeah, and how-to videos on YouTube.
How to make sarin gas. Yeah. How to 3D
start a cult.
How to start a cult. How to 3D print a gun.
Yeah.
How to 3D print anything, basically. Yeah. It's a little scary. How do you combat that? Like, I don't think you really can. Like, it's a hard thing to combat. Once it's out on the internet, it's out there.
Yeah.
And most people can get access to it. So there's the dark thought we leave it on. Before we end today's episode, you know what time it is.
Super Bowl.
Well, it is Super Bowl. Cult critique.
Oh, yeah. Out of 5, right?
It is out of 5. For those who are new to listening to this show, at the end of every episode, we rate and review the cult that we just talked about as if it was a Yelp review. So out of 5 stars, what do you think the Aum Shinrikyo cult is? Was? It still is.
See, that's hard, and I know you don't have any actual system, and it's just you could rate it. Like, if it was really bad, you could give it 5. If it was really good, you could give it 5. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I'll give it a 4.
Okay.
Because they reached across the world, and that began in the 70s and 80s, right?
Yes.
So that was before 70s. Social media, so they were able to still
there was there was internet still around.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
But I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
And they were able to literally create their own weapons, and they had a shadow government,
which is impressive.
That is impressive, and that they weren't shut down. So I'm going to go with a 4 because they were managed to do all that themselves. And I mean, it started out as a little yoga thing. So look how far they came.
So it just goes to show you, yoga
just
kills.
believe in yourself. But obviously it's horrible. And for the people who lost their lives and stuff, like that's insane. Like,
yeah.
It's deplorable.
Oh, absolutely.
But,
and as much as I am against the death penalty,
yeah.
if anyone deserved it, it was probably him.
Yeah.
His followers, it's questionable because it's like,
yeah,
how much can you blame the people?
I mean, the people who are creating the weapons
bombs
and doing experiments. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. But then do you take it back to like
how far do you go?
Like the nuclear bombs. Do you blame the scientists for building that?
But yeah, well,
yeah. It's hard to decipher where that gray zone is and so I definitely blame him, and he should definitely
I agree.
have been punished. Again, death penalty. I guess if anyone deserved it, it was him.
Yeah.
His followers maybe
punished.
They could have maybe made a recovery and made a better life for themselves.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree.
Maybe life in prison.
So wait, are people still following this today?
Yeah. So LF, however you pronounce it, is still an active group.
Insane.
It's under different leadership, so they're probably
maybe they're just
not militarized. I think that's more what it is.
Still though, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I'll probably give it a 3 or 4 star as well, because they're pretty successful getting that many followers. Like it was probably around 100,000 at its peak, if not even more than that. So that's something to be,
says something.
Yeah, it says something about the belief and the willingness as people were to leave Japan's society to join. Anyway, is there anything you want to shout out before we leave today?
Oh my goodness. Go Rams.
You need a podcast so that you can shout something out. Go Rams. Yeah. You think the Rams are going to win?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's what I'm betting.
That's your bet?
Yeah.
So this podcast will actually come out
after.
Yeah, after. So
maybe
I'm saying go Bengals. So it's going to be
but you also said that they're going to pour white Gatorade.
I did say that in the prop bets.
Ridiculous.
It's the worst flavor.
Yeah, I guess. So
no one's going to be drinking it.
I mean,
so it'll be on the table to pour.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I don't know.
Yeah, so that is it for today. Please let us Happy Valentine's Day to those who are celebrating. I mean, some people might not celebrate.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough.
And go Bengals. Let us know who you're cheering for the Super Bowl, or who you cheered for.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like after.
Let us know what you thought about this cult. If there's any information I missed, please let me know. If you
Tell us all the right pronunciations of it all.
Please.
Rip him to shreds.
If we have any Japanese listeners,
shreds.
Please send me like a voice note or something. I think we have that on our website. So you can go to my website, Let's Start a Cult Podcast.com, and there's a little like message button. You can click that and leave a voice message to let me know how I pronounced everything wrong.
Yeah, love that.
I appreciate that. So if you enjoyed this episode, please give it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podchaser, and Spotify. If you really love this episode and can't wait to hear more, you can go to patreon.com/cultivate podcast network and sign up using the link in the show notes to get a week early access.
Wow.
Usually, this episode is not a week early. I'm sorry.
We've been busy.
I've been busy, yeah. Usually it'll be a week early. You'll also get a week early access to Reddit on Wiki, my other podcast, The Dumbfound Dead, as you well know, Patrick and John, who have been in the show many times, and John's bonus episode, Kaba, bonus podcast, I guess it is, Kaba. He talks about cryptids and mythos in like 10-minute chunks on his bonus podcast on our Patreon. There are higher tiers, so if you want more content, you can go check out the Patreon to figure out which tier works for you. So thank you, Fred, for listening, and thank you, Sienna, for coming on today.
You're welcome. Everybody better rate this 5 stars because I'm on it.
Rate it 5 stars just for Sienna.
Yes, please.
So that she'll forgive me for not doing a Valentine's Day date.
Hey, we had a lovely Valentine's Day last night. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.